Hey, okay, government class, here we go. Let me give you a quick, kind of big overview, and then I'm going to make four main arguments here about this lesson, all right? You really need to watch this video, okay? And then you need to read the handout titled Federalist 51 in order to complete today's assignment, right? And I mean, really, you have to watch this video or the assignment, the first question will not make sense at all. Okay, right now I'm going to present four arguments that, in fact, a government is not necessary, right? That we do not need governments. Now, I'm not saying I personally believe this, but I'm going to present these four arguments. And part of the assignment for you today is that you must give some counter arguments, or you must give some arguments against two of these 4 points. Okay. And you could branch off them a little bit, right? But you need to touch on two of these 4 points that I'm going to make in some way, shape, or form as you make the counter argument, right? Your job is going to be to argue that a government is necessary, right? That we do need a government. I'm arguing right now that a government is not necessary. So here we go. Point number one, okay? I am going to say that governments really aren't necessary because in general, people are good. Okay, people are kind-hearted. They care about one another. Okay, and so what that means is the laws and rules that a government enforces are actually not needed. Okay, I mean, I'm not going to speed 90 miles down North Adams Road over here because I don't want to harm you. Okay, and I want everyone to be safe. And I'm not going to go steal from my neighbor because I'm a good person. I wouldn't do that. And so we don't need the government to enforce these laws and rules because, I'm not going to do those bad things. And even if some people do, you and I can enforce some rules and regulations on our own, right? The Wild West, right? I mean, there weren't governments there to enforce all of the rules. It's just people took it upon themselves to enforce some certain moral principles. Okay, so argument number one, people are good and we don't need laws and rules that the government enforces. Argument number two, even if you say, well, the government does more than just laws, true. But most of the things that a government provides would and could be done willingly. So again, I referenced North Adams Road out here. It needs to be repaved. Now, rather than collecting taxes and hiring a company to repave it, you know what? I drive on that road every day. I would willingly spend a week of my time, right, or maybe 2 weeks in the evenings helping to repave that road. I would willingly do that. And I drive on it every day. I would even be willing to pay a little bit of extra fee in order to have it fixed. Okay, I would willingly do that. See, the government comes in and forces me to pay taxes, and then it spends those tax dollars on whatever it thinks is necessary. So yeah, most government functions that the government does, myself and many other citizens, we would do those things willingly, right? We'd join the army willingly. We would repair roads willingly. We would teach kids here at school willingly. So yeah, that function of government, not necessary, right? So to review, number one, people are good. We don't need all the rules of government. Number two, people are good and when willingly do many of the functions of government. Argument number three. We think that oftentimes having a modern government with all the modern functions and benefits that a society brings, like taxes that are spent on roads and schools and regulating the internet and making sure that we have healthy food. Okay, the government has its hands in all of those things, but we make the assumption that a modern type of government with all those functions makes people happier and have a better life, right? And I don't think that's true. There's lots of research studies that show that modern Americans are among the most unhappy people in the world, and that Americans under the same form of government, 200 years ago, right? Now that government didn't do as much. It didn't have as many functions or as many laws and rules. But all the things that modern society has brought with it because of modern government has actually in some way maybe perhaps made people more unhappy. And so I don't think a government's necessary because I think the more modern society, the more modern government has actually made people less happy. All right. And so why would we then want a government? All right. To create a modern society? Why? To make us more unhappy? That doesn't make any sense. So argument number 3 is that just because we have a modern government with lots of modern functions doesn't mean our lives are happier and better. All right, argument number 4, last one. It is in fact the government and other institutions, right, schools, businesses, communities, that are actually causing the problems in the world. So some of you might have thought my argument number 1, that people are good, was just ridiculous. People are good. It's governments and societies and businesses and communities that are forcing people to be bad. You see, we have a problem with greed. Well, it's the government that prints the money. It's the government that makes our financial services operate. If the government wasn't doing those things, we wouldn't have as much greed. The government turns many of us into criminals by passing laws that are unjust. Okay, the government makes it so that I now have to compare myself in many ways to my neighbor. Okay, because I have to live in this community and I have to pay taxes and I have to go to a job with other people and I have to send my kids to school with other people. Then there's constant comparisons among people in society, and that drives me to feel that I'm not equal and that I need to fix that by stealing or by being corrupt. I just want to live out in the wilderness on my own without the government telling me what to do, because then I could be a good person. And it's governments that force us to live together that cause the conflict. And that is why I believe government is not necessary. Okay, so to sum up your 4 arguments that you just heard me spew out, people are good in general. Okay, so we don't need a government. Modern government functions could be done willingly by people. Third, just because something is modern with lots of functions doesn't mean it makes it better. And fourth, government actually helps to create much of the evil in the world. Now, again, I'm not saying I believe this. Those are my arguments. You need to disprove or come at 2 of those in today's assignment after reading Federalist 51 so that you can finish the other part of the assignment. Okay? Good luck. Message me if you got any questions.